They say that there are 3 levels of conversation. Level 1 is when people talk about other people. We call that gossip. Level 2 is when people talk about events. There's nothing wrong with that, but this is Level 3 Studio. Level 3 is when people talk about ideas and what's possible. Welcome to Level 3 Studio, where we feed your mind, feed your body, and without a doubt, feed your soul. Let's take a toast. Hey, cheers. All right. The special guest, this is gonna be fun, this is gonna be exciting. Ryan S. Harvey, Abundant Thinkers, Abundance, Jamela, Peterson, founder of Socialpreneur Lab, Chef J, Executive Chef, Ruby Jeans, Personal Chef, Chef Connoisseur, Rachel Foster, Studio 119 in the building, HypemanKel, period. Man, so this show is really broken down into 3 segments. Segment 1 is really practical and tactical. What do you do and how do you do it? When you get up in the morning, what is it that you set your mind to? What is it that you set out to accomplish? Section 2 is why do you do what you do? What inspires you? What motivates you? The question I ask myself in this show, and the question I've been trying to ask myself more and more lately is, when you wake up in the morning, your eyes open, I'm realizing that it is a choice when we get out of bed. Why do you get out of bed? What really gets you up? And then section 3 is just what's your one takeaway that you would leave with today's generation? If you were to build what we would call an innovator's skill set or toolbox, what's one thing that should be in there? And we'll close out with that. In between section 2 and section 3, we're gonna check in with Chef Jay, get some food, eat good, relax, and enjoy it. So let's get to it. All right, my man in the hot seat, Ryan Harvey. I'm gonna pitch it to you as a big question, and you break it down as you go, man. What is it that you do?
I motivate the minds of the autopilots. I am a person that is using my gift to make people see themselves in the most powerful way possible. What I do is I give relentlessly without any look or thought of monetary gain, but the gain is seeing someone else realize their power. That's what I do.
What do you feel like has gotten in the way of people being able to see themselves?
The willingness to be scared and let that define you is probably been the biggest thing. And the thought that they can't be what they know they should be. We all get the visions of that.
We're all born intuitively knowing what it is that we ought to be doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We all get visions of it. You know, very seldomly do we act on it.
Do you all feel like you know what it is that you're supposed to be doing? Hey, man, you feel like when you get up, like you know what you're supposed to be doing?
I didn't know how I was working to chime in about, people being scared, because we be in our own way so much. Like, you so in your head, you in your head before you lay down. Because, you say a prayer, but even to say the prayer, you was in your head because you had to be thinking about what you wanted to say, you know what I'm saying? And we get so afraid of, like, it seems so outlandish or it seems so big, and you get afraid and you get scared and you just kind of, like, dwindle back down into your mind. But, being expressive and, like, actually putting action towards that thing that you thought about really changed the outcome of you being afraid of something.
How have you learned how to like step almost outside yourself or beside yourself? Because it takes a certain amount of like numbness to feel it and say, I'm going to choose not to feel it and just do it anyway. Like, what allows you to keep pushing forward?
I think other people's past experiences. So like, I could be having a conversation with like my uncle, he's 50. He got a whole bunch of past experiences and a lot of things that he said, man, you know what? When I was in my age, I should have done that when I was 25. When I was 26, I should have done what you trying to do. And I think just listening to his message kind of put me in that mind frame like, okay, yeah, I'm young. I'm 26 years old. I'm young right now, but I'm going to be moving towards 50. I'm going to be 50 sometime too. And that 50, do I want to be saying when I was 26 and I had those opportunities to do it, I ain't do it? No, I don't want to feel like he does. Not to say that his feeling is negative. He could have been experiencing whatever he was experiencing at my age where he couldn't do what he wanted to do.
Seeing
now.
someone else who has lived life longer than you, realizing like the time's gonna pass anyways. Exactly. So like, what's something very like tactical that you do, man? Like, what moves you forward tactically?
Man, like, what you mean?
Like practices, like habits, like strategies. Like what are things that you do that you put in place intentionally to try to move you forward?
Okay, so for me, since I'm doing music and I'm doing like entertainment things, I got this book and it kind of, from a lawyer's perspective, summarizes the music industry. And so every day I'm trying to read, 5-6 pages of that. Not overloading my mind, to try to say, man, I want to finish a whole chapter, because some chapter might be 40 pages and it might be numbers and a whole bunch of tax information or whatever. So I'm just trying to read, 5 or 6 pages of that every day and being able to regurgitate that information and saying like, okay, I could be applicable to this today.
Mm-hmm. Learning your field, learning your game.
If I call my uncle, I can say, Uncle, today I learned about da-da-da-da, and I'm regurgitating it to him. So we practicing together, but he's learning too,
Rachel, what would you say is one play in your playbook that is guaranteed, is bread and butter, something that you can do?
Like directly with my students?
Yeah, sure. If you can go the direction of your students. Yeah, what's one step you take where you know, okay, this is guaranteed. This is gonna move us forward.
Ask them a lot of questions. Like I just put the ball in their court. If they feel like whatever we're learning that day is like directly related to their life and it's not some agenda I'm bringing to them, they're there.
So then how do you allow your students to open up? Because I feel like so many of us get asked questions every day that we don't really bring our full selves to when we answer. Like what do you do that you feel like allows them to really answer that question?
I make them like cross the line that most teachers don't want to cross in their classroom. We have community circles. We go there.
As an educator, or as really as anyone who's teaching, I've realized like you can't be afraid to get weird because they're waiting for you to define the box that they believe already exists. If you go forward and you say, okay, today we're going to get out your paper, they're like, okay, I'm already knowing I'm going through the motion. I'm like, all right, everyone get up. They be like, wow, where are we going? Like, I don't know. I just need to break the mold real quick so y'all realize I'm not going to be regular so that y'all can bring y'all full selves, because once you realize, I remember we took a trip to the grocery store. I was like, man, we need to go do something. I'm like, look up the grocery store. Who know where the grocery store at? They was like, oh, Mr. Wiggins, it's right up the street. If it's less than a 10-minute walk, we're walking right now. Like it's 7 minutes. We middle class. We just got up, went to the grocery store, bought some brownies, came back. Putting them in an experience where like, okay, this is different than what we're normally gonna do. I realize opens up a door for them to try new things. Jamela, what would you say is like something that you're trying to push the boundaries on, like very tactically? Like what are the things that you're implementing or trying that you feel like push the needle?
I think it's important to not only think about ideas all day long and to think about theories and sit in a classroom. You're thinking about what you can do. And so to push it is to give opportunities to execute, give opportunities to put into practice what you think about every day.
What you think is gonna work? Yeah, put it in motion. Yeah. Ryan, what does quality headspace look like to you, man? Like what's your zone, man, where you're like, I know I'm gonna get into a good place.
That was a beautiful question. No, that was a beautiful question.
What does quality headspace look like to you? Like describe the scenery to me where you know you're gonna have the opportunity to get into some good headspace.
I took a trip to LA. And I got to go experience this place called the Soho House. And the Soho House is a place where writers, directors, actors, actresses, Ben Affleck was there. And this is a really like secluded place in a penthouse of this building. And you're around nothing but people that are energized to work. Right? And so when I think about places like WeWork, PlexPod, or whatever it is, being around people that are actively cultivating things, you can feel that energy. You don't need to necessarily have a conversation with that person to feel the energy that they are trying to pursue.
We're there
something.
for the same reason.
Yes, we are here for the same reason. So maybe we don't speak right now, but at some point we will. And if I continuously put myself in that creative headspace, then our energies are going to somehow, some way. You can't define it, right? But I have belief in the creator, and I understand that when I have a question, he has an answer, right? And so more so, it's the person that I haven't experienced yet has the answer. I need to put myself in the position to create the ability to receive it. Welcome it, man. And that doesn't happen unless I'm putting myself in a quality headspace.
How do you guys get around the right people, man? Like, how do you get around the right people? Like, we all want to be around good people, you know? Like, what have been your experiences? What have you tried? What have you went to where you're like, you know, I'm realizing more and more I do this, I'm getting around the right people?
Once you really start focusing on what your craft is, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I like this answer so much, because it's like, yeah, they all are there for a reason, you know what I'm saying? At some point in time, we might not be talking now, but it's gonna come around, you know what I'm saying? You're a creator, like we've been creative, so you gotta allow yourself, and once you get into your creative place, whatever that is, it's the best.
Intentionality.
Yeah, it's intentional. We talked about that
intentional
earlier,
you become, somehow you end up around other people that are intentional. You don't know, like, you don't know how.
It's almost like once you become who you're supposed to be, you attract the people that need to join you.
That need to join you, exactly. That need to join you. It's that simple, yeah.
To me, it's like instead of worrying about being around the right people, become the right person and you attract the right people.
I agree with that too. And I think essentially everybody is the right person. And you can really gain.
Like, you can learn anything from anyone.
You can learn anything from anybody. And
yeah,
so if you can really connect with people for who they are, and you can learn something, and you never know who they know. Right, you could be on the bus, you could be in the airport, anywhere. You can connect with anybody and just have the time to get off your phone, and have a real conversation. Yeah, be present and have real conversation.
What she talking about is the best times. Like when you in a random area. We was riding the elevator.
Ain't no where you
I
at.
started talking to Randy, but Randy know John, who knew Kathy, who set you up with her. You know what I'm saying? To link you into something. You like, dang, like that happened out of nowhere. That was amazing.
I think there's also though like a level of like society pressure to not reach out to Randy, right? It's like it's weird if you like reach out to Randy. Like I can't say what's up to Randy like unless I have a reason to.
Yeah.
So I think you have to like believe in yourself and have enough confidence to be like, they might think this is weird, but I'm gonna like, if I get the vibes from this person, like I'm just gonna follow it and like learn from them.
So maybe y'all giving me the feeling that I'm asking this the wrong way, that like what we do changes. So for me to start by saying, you know, what is it that we do? You could be doing something today that you might not do tomorrow. And that it's more based on your experiences and what you internalize. So like the point that you said and the word and the saying that comes into my mind, which I don't know if I like or not, but I think it's true, is stay in your lane, right? Like, so let me ask it this way, like how do you get those marks, you know, to know, okay, I'm in my lane, like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, like what identifiers?
I think once you hit your goals, I mean, if you say for instance you set 3 goals, and I feel like you in your lane when, okay, I done hit the first goal because the first goal led to the second goal led to the third goal, complete today.
Accomplishment.
Yeah, I was in my lane.
Is goal setting a big, like, do you set like big goals? Are you like, I'm just gonna flow and move? Like, what do you feel?
I'm a flow.
Yeah,
flower.
I'm a floater like that too. Yeah, I'm a floater.
You feel like, cause that's something I balance a lot, man. It's like, cause I think coming up they tell you like set the goal, right? Like set the goal, you gotta know what you're aiming for. And to a lot of degree that has helped me, but to some degree it's gotten in the way of me just being present and moving. Cause it's like, no, this ain't what I'm supposed to be doing, instead of, no, like somehow all of us ended up in this room together. Let's take advantage of the moment, you know? And like trying to find that balance, I'm realizing it's really been a challenge of me lately.
I truly believe that finding that balance has to do with finding yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you want? Like, what lane do you want to be in? You know, like as far as your perspective of success. You know, everybody has a different perspective, and everybody has a different outlook on life. You know, but I believe that it goes back to what y'all said earlier. You know, it's like you never know who you gonna meet, and you never know who that person is gonna introduce you to. But when you know yourself, you know the benefit that these people bring to you.
Good stuff, brother. Good stuff. I think one of the deciding ways you know that you're in the right lane is if somebody's controlling your speed. When people try to contain your power or your influence, you're in the wrong lane, right? If we are creators, then we can create the speed. If we are creators, we create the lane, right? So to like put the lane in a box totally kills the simple fact that you also create the lane. Right? And so I don't look at absolutely not. I don't even look at how fast. Oh, if they say it's 75 miles an hour here and you can only go 75, I don't listen to that.
Hey, you pushing it.
Because you can go 5 over and the police won't pull you over.
Right, you're right. Yeah.
And so to me it says no, they don't control anything. If I'm just going too fast, that's when they see me. But I need to go at my pace in my lane, and there's no traffic in your lane. Period. There's nobody. If nobody can do it how you do it, you can't say if you're in the right lane. Nobody.
They're just gonna let you do your thing.
There's no traffic for you. Nobody does it like you. Nobody does it like you or you or you or you. So as soon as you get that niche and cultivate that, it's off to the races. And the only thing is 200 miles an hour. It's no. What's the low speed here? I want to make sure I don't wreck. No, because at some point you got to be down to fail. So if that's a car accident, let me go on and get into that accident real quick so I learn how to put my car back together, get back on the road.
So the thing that really is bringing this together is around innovating education. And so for those that are in that space, for those that are trying to cultivate those minds, like whether you think about it from a systems level, whether you think about it from a teacher in front of her students level, whether you think about it 2 students talking to each other, like what do we put in place that allows young people to be educated in that way versus the way that they have historically been educated?
I think that we teach them how to fish. Right? It's the old saying, the classic, right? I can give you a fish, right? But you only fed that day, right? But if I teach you how to fish, then I don't ever have to be around you again, but you know how to put that rod, the string together, put the bait on it, put the hook on it,
Go get your fish. Right? Really?
So that's the thing. If we can teach them how to fish,
And then give them the tools.
and give them the tools, man. Not even give them the tools, but show them where the tools are. So then you put them in a position to work.
So next thing you know, they breaking the tree down, pulling a piece of it off.
Right, but if you do it for them, you make them lazy. Then we don't know if they will really cast out, right? Because they didn't have to put in the work to build the rod. You just showed them, you put it together for them. See, this is how you put it together. Put your string in there. And this is how you throw it out there. That's not teaching them, right?
Hands-on.
You gotta
go back
be
to what
hands-on.
you did with that classroom. You know what I'm saying? All right, hey, where's the grocery store? It's 7 minutes away. All right, you gave them. They made a decision. They figured out which store to go to. You gave them power. All right, we walk into that store. Now, when we walk to that store, we're gonna reward you because the decisions you made led us to a proper place to come.
Act in the moment.
Let
Let me ask you this way, Kel, because I think all of us were raised, feed us a fish, right? Like, I think that's why it's something that we're inspired by. Like, that transition between someone giving you the fish and you realizing I need to learn how to fish myself, like, what was that like? Like, going through that growth process?
Man, it's really, it continues through your whole life. You don't really never stop. You know what I'm saying? It's just the type of thing that you're fishing for. You know what I'm saying? Like, the first thing was, okay, applying to college. How do you do that? Well, somebody showed me. They said, hey, you go to these sites, you apply to admissions. So then once I learned how to do that myself, I started looking at schools to possibly do it and learn the game. Okay, so I learned about that, but then when I got there, they didn't tell me about FAFSA. They didn't tell me that I needed, they told me about the scholarships. It's a grant that you can go apply for. I had to sit down with another person and find it. And I think that happens throughout your whole life. You find these people, like these mentors that are teaching you to fly, basically, and you can't change that. Your process is forever. Right. Like it's people that's 70 that's going through a process right now. My uncle that's 50 and talking to me is going through a process right now because he's reminiscing on what he could have done. That's a whole nother prosthetic thinking.
This is a process. I'm learning. I'm still growing. So let me ask you different. What was the last thing you failed at? Right? Last thing you were like, oh damn, that did not go the way I thought I was gonna go. But it was a reminder. I'm still growing. I still got places to go. I'm still acquiring.
Honestly, like mine was today.
Facts every day. If you're not failing, if you're not failing at something every day.
I'm like testing out some new curriculum. We're like piloting it, and we just finished I just finished the first 4.5 weeks of it, and like today was pitch day, last day with my kids, and fourth graders like. It wasn't
what's
cool.
going on here? You thought they had it. You thought you knew exactly how it was going to go.
I was like visioning. But it was like the first pilot, and you just have to be like, okay. So I like,
What were the notes you took, like whether mental or otherwise? Whether you wrote it down, you took it mentally. Like, what are some of the notes you took away from that?
Most of it was like on myself, like some like critical remarks for myself of like I needed to provide this for them. Like I didn't step up and do my job. Like they did their job all 4 weeks. They couldn't have done more. Like it's on me.
Realizing like I need to bring more to this moment. Man, to be like reflective. Like Jay, where's he at? Back here ducked off. Each time he doesn't even say anything, but I feel like every time I see Jay, I gotta come one level harder. Like Jay has done as much as he's created as much of as an environment that he needs to create for me to step to that next level. You know what I mean? Like at this point it's all about like I need to take some ownership and step up, and like the environment has been created, man. I'm realizing like it requires a lot of courage, and I think like courage is one of those words that's thrown around a lot that it almost loses its meaning. You know, like to be courageous. Like when I think about the people who have really been courageous, I don't mean to pick just the two biggest figureheads, but in Black History Month and Martin Luther King, like, can you imagine the amount of things?
I can.
You can?
Definitely.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
You're in that type of work. Right?
I can imagine.
Like I literally, it's crazy that you talk about courage right now because I literally was just thinking that when I was like taking my little walk, thinking of when I was gonna walk into here. But I was like, dude, it take a lot of courage to do what you're doing with reaching out to autopilots or people who in need. You know what I'm saying? That take a lot of courageousness. Like think about how many people you walk past every day and
never say hello. Exactly.
They don't see somebody that say hi to them, like a New York Minute. They don't even say, hey. They don't even hold the door open at restaurants. Like, bro, I was in the airport when we was coming from Phoenix the last time, and somebody came and I was just holding the little door open for the employee lady because she was like, you'll be surprised nobody ever really holds the door right here because everybody's trying to move. Everybody's trying to go.
I like how you flipped that, bro. Courage is almost, it's not this grandiose big thing. It's like the small moment. Like acknowledging that courage is being present in that small moment. But I'm curious what you was alluding to for him. Like, How would you define it, man? How do you practice it?
How I practice it, man, I'll keep it real simple. Simplicity that's my go-to.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple, stupid. Okay? So for me, I think of the Wizard of Oz. Right? We got the guy that's in search of a heart, in search of being having courage and having a brain and all that, right? And they got to go through the process to meet the great and wonderful Oz, right? But when they finally meet him, they realize they already had it.
Right. Yeah.
Right? So to me, it's about taking the action to just simply go after it.
And you'll get it along the way.
Build it on the way. But most people sit here and say, you know what? I got to have this together, this together, this together, this together, this together before I can try. And it never happens because this goes on for life. Like he just said, you never stop. So even at 70, you still doing stuff. So at some point, you're going to have to take a leap and know that you're still going to have to cultivate those things at the same time.
So ultimately, it's kind of like saying that failure is not failure. You're never failing, you're always learning. And so it's like whatever you had going on, it wasn't a failure, it was a stepping stone. It's a part of the process.
To perfection.
And you're
That's it.
So,
yep.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like that's one of the biggest things we have to break down in education is like failure, because these kids, failure is like the end of the world for them.
It
Like
scares them.
Yeah, and I guess that answers your question of how we can allow innovation, because if you penalize people for failing, then you're not for trying, then you're actually doing the opposite of innovation, because innovation is trial and error.
Innovation is almost knowing you're about to fail and then doing it anyway.
Yeah, so it's like if you get an F because you tried but it didn't work out, the process you had for learning that material didn't work. It's like we should stop penalizing children and allow them to fail, give them opportunities to fail and encourage it, and then and that's necessary if we're going to innovate.
Failing is measurable. Because you can say, okay, I messed up the first time. Dang it. Okay, this time I'm going to tweak this and move
Pulling
this.
from it though at the same time.
Exactly.
Not failing ignorantly.
Right. But it's a measure in the way that you got better from something. Okay, I went all hard and I got that F. Man, you know what? I'm going to go hard, but then I'm going to even tweak it a little bit more. Because I remember back when, at that measure, I was failing. But see, now I got to see.
I'm going to fail a little better this
Yeah.
time.
Hey, it's lovely because, man, it's like failure builds character. You know what I'm saying? Like, without failure, you know what I'm saying, what are you becoming? It's like that failure is like that motivation and fuel to you building your new persona. You know, like
Character has to be cultivated.
Exactly.
It has to be. It has to be. You don't just show up with character.
No.
And the older I get, the more I realize that people who have like real character, I just want to ask them about their life because they had to have been through something to have that type of character. You know what I mean? And it's always like the OGs or the old ladies, or it's like that you're like, oh, she got character.
She's a lady.
Yeah.
Right?
Woman.
We never even say
She's
that
a
no more.
woman.
We don't even say that
Yeah,
no more.
she's a woman.
That's a lady.
She's a lady. What?
So let me answer it this way: like, what experience, right? You can pick one. You can pick over a period of time, but like, what experience do you feel like has informed your character the most?
College.
Going to college.
I'll say, I initially went to college playing football. You know what I'm saying? I'm on sports, so of course I'm kind of slacking a little bit in my work ethic.
Right,
You know
you
what I'm saying?
think
'Cause
you're
I
just the
really ain't
man
gotta
out
pay
there.
that much. I'm playing football, I'm the guy. And then boom, football don't work out no more. Okay, so Kel, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna be done with school because you really only came to play football, or are you gonna challenge yourself to keep going? And I think at that point, it really forced me to make a decision like, all right, you're gonna have to learn how to do some study habits. You're gonna have to actually go to class. You ain't gonna get no left foot, right foot walk with you. And I think, when I made that decision, I'm like, man, you know what? I gotta finish school because I at least promised my mom and my grandma that I would finish.
That's what you break that down more. Like, where'd you start? Where'd you end up? Where'd you go along the way? Yeah.
Like, I'm from St. Louis. Went to Redden High School, playing football. Ended up getting a scholarship to Missouri Valley College. Got to Missouri Valley College for 3 years. It wasn't working out for me. I left. Went to Arkansas State University. Still chasing it. Got out there. Was cool with Coach Malzahn. Things didn't work out. Boom. Tried to do the walk-on. Didn't work out. So now I'm here in Arkansas. Like, man, what the hell? Like, why am I here?
And Arkansas for
And
no
that's
reason.
that's really when, those negative things start to really attack me, because they knew that what I wanted to be there for, I couldn't have.
Got pulled out from
You get what I'm saying? So that's where that year of school was like one of the most challenging years of school that I ever faced, because I was facing all those different decisions. Like, man, I'm a football bro. I could just go back to the crib, start doing my thing, and I'll be straight and be all right still. Or, man, do I challenge myself to go to school? You know what I'm saying? I know K-State got a good program for me. I better just go there and do my thing, you know? So then I ended up that summer.
So this is the third institution.
Yeah,
so now
this
you're
the
going to
third
number
school.
3.
Yeah, this is the third school I went to. And so I had a great friend. Her name was Beth. And she was in the master's program. And she was like, man, Kel, you know what? Come here. If you come here, she had to like hook up to the drawdown apartment. She was like, I can get you a 1-bedroom apartment. I'm like, all right. She's like, but if I get this, you know what I'm saying, you have to come, because I'm going to get you a good rate, whatever. Man, I was out there. Came all the way from Arkansas, got to K-State. Shoot, basically for 2.5 years, I thought I was gonna be done with school. And they kept on saying, nope, you still got this to do. Nope, you still got this to do. I'm like, dang, man, I done been in school 6 years now. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, what am I? Like, I feel like I'm so behind, I'm older, you know what I'm saying? But it was a special teacher, bro. Dr. Petty, man, he came, he said, listen, you know, it's people that's 30 that go and get their degree and they don't graduate till they're 35.
Why do we think we're behind at something?
Because we're trying to look good. We're hoping to get successful and still look good.
Show some
because
people.
Yeah. And so we'll think of an age being somehow a determining factor in our success. We'll say, man, I got to get it while I'm young, because as soon as I get old, man, ain't nobody going to want me, ain't nobody going to care. But it's just like, but dog, how much do you care about you? You don't want to see yourself successful even at 60?
You're going to be 60 anyway.
So what? You going to be 60 and regret that you didn't go after it? Like, come on.
That's such a critical part, man, and one thing that if we're going to encourage youth, man, really everyone to fail forward, like from your experiences, what foundation do we need to make sure is in place that as we encourage people to fail forward, that won't be the end? You know what I mean? Like what are the pieces that are necessary?
There isn't an end. There isn't a beginning. And like, even when you make it to the top, there's always potential to go down. And so it's like not being afraid to live on the ups and downs and to live on that roller coaster, so that foundation you have is with your character and being able to be steady in yourself, to be secure in yourself, that when you're up, you're the same. When you're down, you're the same. You have to be consistent. You have to be constant, because there's always going to be ups and downs. You'll be successful, but there's always a chance to
It's coming
fall.
down.
Yeah.
And I've learned that now. Yeah. Like, it's good. When it's feeling good, I'm like, stay prepared, because it's not going to go this way for so long.
I know for me, so like I have the job of like teaching 5-year-olds.
Brutal.
Entrepreneurship.
Brutal.
What does that even mean? Like, what
Figure
do I
it
do?
out, right? Let's go ahead and clap it up for that one time, right?
So like I think that beyond like defining entrepreneur, like we don't even go there. It's like we celebrate failure, right? I think that
Building
you have to
principles.
be so intentional with like you messed up, like we literally celebrate, right? Like we make round of applause when you mess up. Cause like what teacher does that, you know?
I'm gonna start that tomorrow.
You should, like we literally
Fundamentally, like rebuilding like the fundamentals.
Man, in class, I'm
And,
clapping
like,
for failure.
5-year-olds can reflect. Like they have the ability to reflect, but that's not happening. So like when you fail, we're gonna clap and then like let's have a conversation. Yeah, like what happened here? What could we change? And 5-year-olds can navigate that conversation perfectly, and it's not happening in any kindergarten classroom. You know, like that's not happening.
What's your experience in terms of like cognitive development? Like where would you say, 5, 6, like as human beings enter into the space where they're supposed to become educated? Like what are they really capable of doing?
Creativity, and they have to have their hands on something. You put something in their hands, whether that be Play-Doh, whether that be blocks, they can do anything and they can understand things, right? But they have to be able to touch it, feel it, see it, but they can like understand pretty big concepts.
Yeah, they're really like sponges. Like
Yeah.
their minds soak up so much information, and thank you. So yeah, they are capable of thinking of things that, because their mind isn't constricted, they haven't been like molded by society. They have the ability to really think outside of the box as well. But we destroy their minds.
Oh man, by the time we get them,
Oh my God.
It's like we can see the strongholds,
Man.
but I don't think that they can yet recognize the strongholds. And so we're trying to, like, by the time you're 28, 29, you know, if you're crazy, you know you're crazy. As an adult, if you know you messed up, you can acknowledge you messed up. But a 15, 16-year-old can't yet recognize what the strongholds are. They can't even recognize that they have a stronghold. So, like, how do we, like, trying to protect them in that space as they grow, you know, is so critical, man. And almost like, how do we put those kids in front of older kids or vice versa, to where they can see each other more often? It's something I've
Do
been
stuff
thinking
like the
about.
Make a Challenge.
Yeah. That's what brought us all together here, right? Right, yeah. What do you feel like the next step of that looks like? In your perfect world, and in full respect to everyone who's really doing that, and that's leading that, but from your experience being involved, like, what would you love for the next step of that to look like?
Well, see, I deal in it from a different aspect from everybody else. I teach at an alternative school, and so most of the kids that come into my class have some kind of disciplinarian problem.
Something got them there.
Something got them there, fighting, bringing a gun to school, bringing a knife, something, right? And so I have to begin at a grassroots, almost digging a hole, right? To say, you know what, I'm gonna lay in this bunker with you, but before we die, right, I'm gonna save you. Right? And so these kids are the forgotten ones. Like, we push those to the side because they've caused so much mischief. But I get them, right? And how do we begin to change those kids, right? Because they influenced the not so good. I mean, the cool kids, the okay kids. They have way more influence, right? Because we can see some kids cutting up, and I used to be one of those, right? And I can make other people start cutting up because then they see it's not hard to do something easy. It's not, and messing up is easy, man. Not doing what you're supposed to is easy, but being committed is difficult. And we, in our society, man, it doesn't look like people push their kids into doing difficult things. We baby them. We, even as babies, we talk to them like a baby. Like, come on, baby, with me. And it's like,
Fat Rob tried to have his baby reading at like 3 months old. He said, "No, you're gonna read."
no, straight up. I'm talking to a 3-4-year-old like they're a grown adult. We're not having grown conversation, but I am talking. Yeah, I'm communicating with you, not like you don't get it, but knowing that your mind is fully capable of understanding everything I'm saying. But it's about putting a child in that position before they get in school.
I was going to say a little bit, I agree with you, and I think what I've been doing with my organization is trying to create a space that allows kids to empower themselves. And so with teaching entrepreneurship and giving them that opportunity to empower themselves. So I kind of started my first pilot in a church youth group. And so we had a mixture of kids. So it was really cool to see the young kids with the older kids and how they interacted. And I was like, why don't we do that? Why don't we allow them to be mixed up more? And so it was really cool to give them that space. And then in my classroom, in the church youth group, we had some kids that were in foster care. And like, there was a kid, his name was Robert. And my first day of class, he told me, "Your class is going to be boring. I don't want to be." He was like, he was like, "I don't want to be in your class." And he had the worst attitude. And people came to me. They was like, "Oh, don't worry about him. You know, he's having a hard time at home. He's going to be a little bit of an issue." But when he had the opportunity to empower himself, because we actually built a business in the class, so they created a T-shirt business. And they went through the whole process of business planning. They went and they did the screen printing. If you go to my Instagram, you get to see some. Yeah, shout out.
She said, "I am about my brand." Okay. Now, if you go to my brand, no, I'm not that one.
Yeah,
Count 3 down. That's me.
Lab, LB.
Shout it out.
So you can see some videos of them. Robert is in the videos, and they had the opportunity to make T-shirts, and they sold those T-shirts, and they got to keep the money. And I will tell you, that kid who was telling me I don't want to be in your class. He was calling me, Miss Jamela, can I help you with anything? He would meet me in my car and help me fix class. He would call and be like, hey, Miss Jamela, when's the next class? He was so engaged, and like for what he wanted was to be empowered. And so giving them that opportunity to do that. And I think entrepreneurship.
Break that down a little more. Like, what do you feel like? Because I think the idea is beautiful. Like, all of us really, I think all of us are here because we believe in empowering each other. But like, what do you feel like really allowed him to feel empowered?
The one thing is, when he came in my class and he would disrupt, I wouldn't penalize him. I wouldn't, call him out. Robert, don't do that. Yeah, no, but I did the opposite. I gave him attention because that's what he wanted. So I put him in, Robert, come to the front. You can tell us what we're going to do. And they actually voted him the class president. Yeah. And so it was just like he needed that attention. His acting out was him asking for help, for attention, which is what he needed. And to be empowered is just giving them the opportunity to think for themselves, because we tell them what to do all the time. They're getting told what to do as soon as they wake up. And so giving them the chance to speak, giving them the chance to think and have ideas. I mean,
And to see him through.
yeah, see him through. Yeah, to see him through. And it really changes their lives. And yeah, Robert, he's amazing now. Like, yeah,
That boy on the
he's going to
move.
be the president.
I want to meet
That
Robert.
boy, I want to be Robert.
I'm trying to meet Robert.
But I think that's the special thing about y'all three and y'all positions with working with youth. Like, y'all getting them. Like, yeah, he bad, but you get him because you know what bad was.
Right. I'm
You
almost
get
in
him
that
because you
position
know he
because-
attention. You get your kids to get active and know that you might have had a hiccup in your game, but hey, look, we gonna praise this failure.
Yeah.
That y'all are getting those unheard and unsung voices, and that's very special to have that type of ability. You know what I'm saying? So I commend y'all on doing that, because
So my question
that's
is,
great.
So my question is, like, I guess the ultimate thing is cognitive dissonance. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's like, we're battling the things that we were taught and brought up on. But the thing about it is, like, we're trying to be cultivated to learn this different way of thinking, this different outlook and perspective of life, and how we can become better. So how do you fill in the gap? How do you as a leader and a cultivator of change, how do you fill in the gap?
My master's program, half of it was in college student development, the other half of it was in K through 12 administration. And they introduced the word cognitive dissonance in the context of when an 18-year-old who has been shepherded their whole life, right, told what to do, how to believe, what to believe, when to do it, they come to college, to this open space, to this huge space, and they're thrown a million ideas. I mean, the amount of majors that are offered in a college versus the degree you get in high school, right? You get one degree, but now it's like 100 majors. Like that dissonance is almost shocking, and that a lot of people try to lay down a practice for how you do that, man. But one thing that I've learned, and this is something that I'm trying to embrace, like as a self-belief before I even portray it, is like, not everyone is going to make it. I think we're afraid to say because especially like good people, right? Because we want to believe everyone is going to make it. So I'm answering your question in a roundabout way, which is that, like, when cognitive dissonance happens as an adult, you almost have to have been prepared for that moment. Because if you haven't, like, from the goodness of my heart, odds are you're not going to be able to handle that. So I think everyone handles it in a different way. That's my answer to you. But I think that you have to have been prepared, because if you're not, man, it'll eat you up. I've seen, how many freshmen drop out? Like, our freshman year, man, lost half of the people we know. Just because that dissonance, it was too much to bear. And I'm realizing, like, go with the people that are ready to go. The people who are going to grab it are going to grab it. And, like, knowing that if constantly looking back inward, putting yourself in the right place to say, am I prepared to handle what I do not know? Am I prepared to handle what I do not know? Because we'll be learning things for the rest of our lives.
Are you ready to handle what you do not know?
I don't know. I don't know for myself.
I mean, but that's the same question of if the success that you yearn for happened when you woke up. You ready?
What are the habits? You got the habits built in?
You got everything you need so you can keep it, so you don't lose your mind?
Go crazy.
Right? So you don't, because I can't say that if I would have made it in concrete, right? If I didn't give up concrete, I can't say that I would give all of me to this because I got monetary things. Make you lazy. Yeah. And so even when I think of my students, right, I got kids that will bring guns to school, right? And my first day I got hired at this school, a kid knocked on my door with a strap in his pocket and was going to shoot up my classroom, right?
First day on the job?
First day, brother. Okay, so in that first day or in that first week, I'm talking to the kids about affirmations, right? And so I'm like literally shredding affirmations, getting it down to the bare minimum of stuff, right? And then one of the kids was like, Mr. Ryan, why do you carry a magnet in your pocket? I'm like, when I reach in my pocket for my keys, I'm immediately reminded that I have something tangible in my pocket to remind me of my affirmations that I need to say to myself, right? Before someone else can check me, I can check myself, right? And so for one of the kids, he's like, well, Ryan, the same way you thought about that magnet, I thought about a gun the same way. Right? Where the gun is in my waistband. If I'm sitting down, if it moves against my stomach, I'm thinking about who I might have to defend myself against, who I might have to shoot at, looking through the blinds, all that kind of
all
stuff,
the things
right?
that come along with it.
And you're bringing that, you're attracting that to your life. So to watch a kid say, you know what? Instead of carrying that, I want to carry a paper full of affirmations where he says, I'm the architect of my life. Right? And so where he used to carry that gun, he now carries that paper full of affirmations, right? If we begin to kind of show a kid that kind of power, right? That you can attract the things that you desire. Your life doesn't have to be what it is right here, that you are so much more than the space, the environment, right? Kids don't think they can have anything because of their environment. That they see mom and dad struggle, right? They see their friends
and their
struggle.
mom and dad talk about how their parents struggle.
And we'll hear parents talk about, man, I'm just trying to make you better than me. How? How? If you're not trying to be better, how are you going to teach me about a place you ain't never seen? It doesn't.
I think that's point on. I think when you think about what cognitive dissonance is when your beliefs don't match up to your actions. And so it's like it's really the root of it is the belief about yourself and the environment that these kids are in. It's like, how can they believe different about themselves if all they can see is this environment? You know, and so it's like, okay, there's a cognitive dissonance with my actions, because how am I supposed to get out of this environment? It seems impossible. So let me fall back and let me have this gun. Let me act up in class, because now it aligns my belief about myself and my actions. They are now in alignment. And so it's hard. So if you want those kids to change, they do have to start with a different belief about themselves. And those affirmations will be powerful, because then they can change their environment. They can manifest and change what they have around them. And I think that's the problem. They don't think that they can change it, that it's just going to be that way. And there's nothing they can do about it, so they have to fall back and just accept it. But if I think that's the powerful thing about entrepreneurship and with Robert is that he got to see, I can now change my environment. I have the power to do that. And so now I can start thinking differently about myself because I have this power, you know? So I think that's how.
That's the gray area.
Yeah.
That's filling the gray area. That is filling the gray area when you give people the power to know that they can affect their environment.
Even this much. What's needed in the community? What's needed in the community? What support systems are needed?
Man, what I believe is needed in the community. Like, I was talking to a good friend, Ryan Harvey, earlier. And he told me about affirmations, you know what I'm saying? But he said affirmations are just affirmations until you declare it. So it's like now he's focused on declaration. How can we instill declarations into people to the point where now they're basically cultivating change? Exactly.
What am I going to declare?
Yeah, what are we going to declare? You know what I'm saying? So it's like.
Something I think is really dangerous. So when we think about what's needed in the community, it's like, Ryan, what you're doing in your classroom, that can immediately, in the moment where it's great for one of your students, their next class, whoever that adult is, can immediately ruin that.
Yeah.
Right? That's so dangerous and
Quickly.
so scary. In 2015, I taught first grade. I didn't know about entrepreneurship, but I taught all of my 6-year-olds to like be empowered by like picking up litter around our school, right? Like that small thing, if they saw trash, they picked it up. They didn't litter, right? They like called out their families. And so one of my kids in May, end of the school year, picks up a piece of trash, and one of the teachers just reamed the kid in front of me. Like this is something for picking up trash, right? Like that's dirty. Like don't do that. You don't know where that came from, right? Innocent enough, but like
not realizing that you're working so hard to build up.
Right, so it's like the culture of the institution has to be aligned. You have to be willing to ask people you're inviting in if your vision isn't here, like this isn't a space
Putting
for
culture
you.
on the table.
What you said yesterday, like move with the people who are ready to move. We can't be afraid. It's like if you're not here and you're not with it, bye.
I wish you love and wellness and peace and but it's time to go.
We're not letting the teachers go, right? It's like you should not be teaching these children. Then there's people like that, and it sucks, but it's like
because we look at the system, there's a shortage. We need people. Someone has to, and that cost them, man.
the biggest like danger.
Have faith that your story or the things you went through are not for you, but the people that will come into your life that went through the very thing and are looking for you to bring them out. You got to share it. You have to share it because, again, we are not going through things just for our own selfish reasons. Of course, we are being cultivated for greater, yes, but we're also being put to the test so then we can show other people that the test ain't so bad, that it's possible, and celebrate and talk about how many times you failed at going after it. And we were talking about failing. One of the best things I've seen with these kids, man, is to show them that you're not scared to be vulnerable with your losses. If you can put yourself in a place where, like, dog, I've lost this. I've lost $500,000 before. That's a fact. That's a fact. And I cried for weeks, right? I felt like I was close. It was in my hands. I had 32 houses at one point. And so to lose that, it does something to you. But I know for a fact that dark time, I didn't run from it. I embraced it. And the lessons I got from that, whenever I get back to that position, I know I'll never lose it.
Never again.
I'll never lose it.
Never again. Man, whenever, sharing those stories with the kids, I mean, so all of my kids are like turning 16. All of my students are turning 16. And I shared with them the worst decision I ever made when I was 16, man. So like 3 weeks after my 16th birthday, I got a 2007 Charger. So, I mean, 2007 was when I was 16, so this was brand new. It was like when they just revamped the Charger line. I thought I was the man. It was all black. I was swerving it. No. No, man. I totaled it. I totaled the car, man. I totaled it flying, man. And I shared with them, man, that like I thought I made the worst decision of my life. I'm 16. I just got my driver's license 3 weeks, and I totaled this car. Luckily, I totaled it so soon that I was able to get my money back that I invested into it. I got a Monte Carlo, and I said I'm gonna keep this car. I'm gonna keep this car till the wheels fall off. I said, look, I'm gonna keep this car because I've learned how to value something. And unfortunately, all of us have to go through that experience of loss until we learn how to value something. Hopefully that's what we're doing here, right? It's like celebrating failures as a part of the process towards victory. Pulling people together who are at least to some degree on that side of the fence. Like, I know that failure is a part of the process. All right, come on the show. Because we need, like, you're making me realize that, like, that's okay. If we know that's part of it, let's try to build that voice louder. And, oh man, I think it's just sharing that story. Like, I think that's crucial. Like, and learning how to cultivate that story. Like, I can tell you, I can break my story down to the facts. I can break it down to the things that have been emotional to me. I can break my story down to the impact I feel like it can have on someone else. So I think like realizing that a story, like embrace that story, empower yourself, study your story, look at your life, look where your family's from, look at where you've ended up. Like, know yours. No one should be able to tell your life better than you can. Because at the end of the day, someone's gonna talk about you. Someone's gonna talk about your life. You know what I mean? So have your story so tight that you know exactly how to deploy it in a manner that it will make it useful for other people. So on the show, I don't mean to cut you short, man, but like we say, we're gonna feed your body, feed your mind, and we sure gonna feed your soul. So let's get to this food. Let's go get to Chef Jay. Talk to us, man. What we got going on over here, man? Talk to us, man. Talk to us.
Juice on truth.
Juice on truth. Talk us through it, man. What's been the process, man? What's going on?
Today, I got a homemade chicken Alfredo with a homemade Alfredo sauce that I've always done since I started cooking. A lot of people go crazy over this, so this is like the first time I'm actually doing it on video. So.
Okay, this is the first time it's getting captured.
Yeah, so you guys are like
Level 3
in for
studio
a little
cookbook.
treat, you know?
What's in here over here?
So I just got some pasta mixed with some veg right here. I kept it a little separated just because we got 2 vegetarians in here. I feel sorry for them, but you know.
We can't. Look, we'll let them. I'm gonna eat the meat.
But it's okay. I like to transfer my pasta to a different pot and let that Alfredo sauce kind of cook and thicken up on it a little bit.
Man, Jay, pull these two together for me, man. We're talking a lot about belief, man, about going against the grain. You don't see too many executive chefs your age the way they look like you doing what you can do, man. Like, how have you been able to lean into this thing of cooking, man, and make it your own?
I think, you know, just being young, you know, just wanting a lot out of life. It's really helped me a lot, you know, because a lot of young people don't want to be chefs, and a lot of young people don't, you know.
Hey, but we all love good food, don't we?
Yeah, we all do love good food. But a lot of young people don't take that extra step just to go. You know, they're usually waiting to go to school, you know, the traditional thing. And I'm not saying don't go to school, but always know your hustle while you're in school, or know your purpose or anything like that, you know?
This is my favorite part of the show, I ain't gonna lie. This is my favorite part, man. This is my favorite part. Oh, it's going down. Oh, man. Oh, man. Man, he's got it. It's sealed. We're actually talking about Level 3 Studio Cookbook. We're gonna get this man a cookbook.
Yeah.
And we gonna get it popping. Who's gonna? Hype man, you wanna try it, man?
Why turn it up?
You wanna try it, man?
You want to make sure it's snackable?
You wanna make? But before the show started, I had 3 people pick a word to put in here that they feel like resonates with them deeply. Ryan, you chose belief, man. Why is that the word you put in there?
I chose belief because, like I was saying before, it's essential in taking action. I don't think hope and faith are just it alone. I think when you truly believe, there's no room for either one of those words to even live. So I think belief is a necessity, and not believing in the external, but believing in the internal.
HypemanKel, dog, you chose the word joyful, man. Why was that the word you put up there?
I chose joyful, you know what I'm saying? Because you got to enjoy what you're doing, man. You got to be happy about being in the position that you in, or wanting to put yourself in. It ain't supposed to be the journey of misery. You have those times where you might feel misery, but you need to be enjoying it. Be joyful at the fact that you get to experience it.
So what's the one thing that you would put into the innovator's toolbox, man?
One thing I would put into the innovator's toolbox is perseverance, man. You got to persevere. You're going to see obstacles, man. There's going to be so much stuff that just in your way, or you feel like you can't overcome, and you just got to persevere through those tough times and get to where
Rachel, you chose kind. And whenever I was asking you, when we put it in there, you said, well, I get a chance to explain why. And I've been curious, like, the whole show. Like, feel like you had a deepening reason as to why you put that.
I mean, like, kindness is basic, right? Like, I would say, oh, be kind. And it is super basic. And before I knew anything about anything, like, I knew that kindness was cool, and I was confused why people couldn't do it. Like, 10 years old, and, like, if somebody asked who my mentor was, it was Ellen DeGeneres. It was like, she's just so dope, and she's so nice. And why is that so challenging? And then I realized, like, kindness isn't going to solve our problems. I think that, like, disrupting unjust, like, systems is, like, it doesn't always take kindness. Like, it takes more than that. But I think that we can do it with kindness, and why I think that the word kind sticks out for me now with what I'm doing is, like, my babies, K through 8, however old they are, they're, like, still my babies, you know. My babies aren't going to be successful until they can learn how to, like, break down their barriers and, like, not jump to defense and, like, protect themselves, which is what they all do, right? There's, like, fight or flight. When we can figure out how to be kind and, like, seek understanding, that's when my kids are successful. And, like, until that happens in my classroom, entrepreneurship doesn't happen.
So what's one thing that you would put in the innovator's toolbox?
Collaboration and communication. Two favorites of the four C's.
Two favorites of 4C. What are the other two?
Critical thinking and creativity are the four. But I think collaboration and communication, even for the non-entrepreneur, is like what's going to instill the spirit.
Manifest. And how do you manifest? And I think it's a combination of things that requires manifestation or bringing things to reality. And part of it is like belief. You have to have belief, like he says, but not only belief and faith, but you also have to have works. So you have to have a combination of those two. And so in order to manifest, put in the work and also have the belief. And so I guess what goes into the educator's toolbox is to mobilize students to be able to put in the work. We are teaching them ideas, but let's mobilize them to do and implement what they think and believe. So that, I think, is the main thing.
Put in the work.
Yeah.
Mobilize students to put in the work.
Yeah.
Manifest.
Man, my biggest thing is just going back to a good friend of mine, Jack. Be a skipper. Not in a sense of skipping classes or skipping the knowledge that people are passing on to you, but being a skipper of taking control of your ship, taking control of your destiny, and having control of everything that you have, and take on that journey, man, because only you get to define your outcome, your future. You know, of course, there's a lot of obstacles that are going to present itself, but when you're actually taking control of that ship, through all those obstacles, you're able to persevere and stick to the true vision.
Man, I would say zig when other people are zagging. You know, it's that cliche, but just do it. Do what other people aren't doing and experiment with it, and be okay if you don't know like the future of what's going to happen. And I don't know, see it through. Like just see it through.
Okay, so my biggest takeaway of the night was something that Ryan said, and it's like a manifestation of what's in this room right now. The last 3 months, really, of this business has been crazy for us. Like, not only have we grown in numbers, but we've grown, like, as humans, as people. Our circle is so tight. Like, our circle is so tight. Only people who think big, only people who think good, and only people who take action. It's been crazy. So what he said that really dropped on me was you start attracting the people who you need when you become the person who you want to be. That's how I feel right now.
Surround yourself with the right people, man. Like, I've been in situations, man, and I think I shared this last time too, was I didn't know how much people could feed you until I got around the right people. I thought that was just what you got out of people. You know, I thought that relationships were just mediocre and it was just warm and 50-50 and lukewarm until I got around the right people. And I was like, oh, this is what vibes can really feel like. And then like from that point moving forward, I only surround myself with people that feed me. So surround yourself with the right people, man. But one of the things I think we talked about a lot that we didn't put down in here was just, I'm gonna just make it simple and just say fail forward. You know, failure is necessary, embracing it, putting it on the chopping block and getting after it. So I'll say fail forward. One step at a time, man. So I'll end it by saying I truly can't explain how humbled I am that all of you would take time out of your days, out of your lives to come here. This is something that I have been envisioning for years and years and years. Drafting out, writing down. I was everything from like drawing where people would sit to writing down ideas. So I'll end it by saying I'm grateful for your time and your energy, and I truly wish all of you well. You know? But they say that there are 3 levels of conversation. Level 1 is when people talk about other people. Call that gossip. Level 2 is when people talk about events. There's nothing wrong with that, but this is level 3 studio. Level 3 is when people talk about ideas and what is possible. Welcome to Level 3 Studio, where we feed your mind, feed your body, and without a doubt, feed your soul. Hey! See you next time. Yeah.